everyone, AMR back again with another video. So in today's episode, I am going to be covering the Thursday night football matchup tonight, where you have Washington visiting Chicago. As you can see above my head, I am a Bears fan, but I don't really know how this game's going to shake out. Let's go ahead and start here at the offensive side. I guess the rankings, if you will. The Commanders are 19th in offense, 32nd in defense, 10th in passing, and 28th in rushing, compared to the Chicago Bears, who have a 31 ranked offense, 5th ranked defense, 32nd ranked passing, and 5th ranked rushing. So I think that if you have a David Montgomery or a Khalil Herbert in this game, I think you're going to be very, very happy, given the fact that Chicago's strength is the rushing game and the Commanders' defense is dead last amongst the league. Now, over on the other side of the ball, you have Carson Wentz, who I think is going to be an iffy type play. We haven't seen Terry McLaurin have a breakout game just quite yet. Curtis Samuel could be very involved. Last week's performance by Diami Brown, he's actually added to the injury report. He's questionable for this game. I'll get to that in a minute here. So I'm not super excited about really anyone in this contest. I don't think that if you have Darnell Mooney or Cole Kmet or really anyone on the receiving court, you're going to have a happy ending here. The Chicago Bears are dead last in passing. I think that really only you can start Justin Fields and David Montgomery in this game with a lot of confidence. I mean, this might be even a game where you could even start the Chicago Bears defense. Now, that being said, Washington has had a few times where they run up the score in the second half, getting a bunch of garbage time points. You need to be aware of that could be a possible outcome of this game. Let's take a deeper dive into some of the numbers here. Points per game for Washington is 18. Points allowed per game is 25.6. Passing yards is 278 yards. Rushing is 89. Passing allowed yards is going to be 255. And then rushing allowed yards is going to be 110.6. Now, on Chicago, you have points per game, which would be 17.2. Points allowed per game, 21.2. Passing yards, 135.8. Rushing yards allowed, rushing yards is 157.4. Pass allowed yards is 208.8, and then rush allowed yards is 170. Okay, so now that we have those numbers in front of us, let's go ahead and take a look here. So Chicago's giving up 21.2 points allowed per game, where the Washington Commanders are only scoring about 18. I think that is a realistic number. I think that Washington probably gets close to 21. They might even get 20 points in this contest. Now, on the other side of the ball, you got Chicago, who's only getting about 17.2. However, the Commanders are giving up 25.4. That's where I think that you get the wiggle room in this game, and that really could be the difference maker in my eyes. I think that Chicago probably gets 24 or 21 points. It's going to be a close game. Chicago has the money line here of like negative 110. However, the sports book is labeling this as an even matchup. I don't disagree with that at all. This really is a coin flip. From the passing perspective, the Bears are allowing 208.8 yards passing, and the Commanders are passing for 278. Realistically, I think that 278 is not unachievable. I just don't think that Carson Wentz is going to have a 300-yard passing game in this contest against a very stout Bears secondary. Now, they will be without Jalen Johnson. Again, I'll get to this in a minute for the injury report. On the rushing side of the ball, Commanders, they got Brian Robinson now, and they tried to ease him into the offense last week. So they're averaging 89 yards per game, and the Chicago Bears are giving up 170 yards per game. So this could be a really nice matchup if you have Brian Robinson. I think that the Bears really struggle. If there's one chink in the armor on this 5th ranked defense, it's their running attack. They just cannot figure out how to stop it. Dalvin Cook had 2 touchdowns, 94 yards last week. So I think Brian Robinson is an awesome play from the Washington side of the ball. Now, over on the Bears side, they're getting 135.8 yards through the air, and the Commanders are giving up 255. So again, this kind of just reiterates the point of Justin Fields. I have no confidence in any single receiver, but I think that Justin Fields has enough to get close to 200 yards passing, but he's really going to get a lot done on the ground. Now, the Bears are getting 157.4 yards per game on the ground, and the Commanders are giving up 110.6. This just bodes well for Dave Montgomery. I think that he's going to get around 110 yards, and then Khalil Herbert's going to get another 30 or 40. So the Bears are definitely going to hit this number. I think that I can start that with a lot of confidence moving forward. Now let's go over to the weather. So the weather, this is a 7:20 kickoff here in Chicago. It's right by Lake Michigan. The actual weather is going to be 47 degrees, but it feels like a 39 degrees. It's going to be a little bit chilly. They have a 0% chance of precipitation, which is fantastic for football purposes. You have 90% cloud cover, and you have a 13-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the southeast with wind gusts coming up to 15 miles an hour. Realistically, this is pretty close to ideal conditions for Chicago Bears fans. Chicago is just bred in the cold. I think that Washington's not immune to cold games either. However, this is going to be like our first real look at like a cold-ish type game in the NFL. Now let's go over to the injury report. So on the injury report here, let's start with Washington. Washington has Diami Brown. I talked about it a little bit earlier. He's their wide receiver who had a really good week 2, or last week, I should say. I was thinking about touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns. He's questionable for the contest with a groin injury. I think he plays. They really, really need him in this contest. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about that because of the fact that they are going to be without Logan Thomas and Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson is out for some time. I think he got added to the IR. I'm not sure. He has a hamstring issue, and he looks like he's going to miss some time. Logan Thomas, who was lingering with that calf injury last week, he ended up playing in last week's contest, but really didn't do much. Seems like he might have re-aggravated it. He's out as well. So the Washington Commanders are really going to need to rely on Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Diami Brown if he's playing, Brian Robinson. And then over on the Chicago Bears side, Jalen Johnson, cornerback, he's out with a quad. I mean, this is his 3rd game in a row, I think, that he's missed. So I'm not really excited for the outlook on Jalen Johnson at this point. He needs to get the rest that he's getting. So I don't really feel like they're going to try and rush him back given how good he is in the secondary. Cody Whitehair, the center, he's on IR with a knee injury, and then Byron Pringle, he remains on IR as well with a calf injury. So the odds, like I said, Chicago has the money line here of -110. It's a 38 over-under. I have this hitting the over in this contest. I think it's going to be a 21-24 game, giving it a 45 total. I think Chicago takes this one. Their last 3 games, Washington has played Tennessee and Philadelphia at home, losing both contests, while also going to Dallas and losing on the road as well. Big concern here is that against Philly, 8 points, Dallas, 10 points, Tennessee, 17 points. They're just struggling to get points on the board. Each game is getting better and better. I think that they realistically probably should have won last week, and they just kind of got gypped out. Carson Wentz throwing a pick is just going to happen. Now switching over to the Chicago side of the ball. Chicago was on the road against Minnesota and on the road against the Giants, losing both of those contests, but at home against Houston, they managed to win. They won the game against Houston 23-20. Against the Giants, they lost 20-12, and against Minnesota, they lost 29-22. Those losses to the Giants and Vikings were very, very hard-fought games. I don't think that the win against Houston was very fun to watch, but the fact that they're keeping it in striking distance really makes this team that much more doable. Here's my predictions for the game. I think Justin Fields throws for about 212 yards, has about 60 yards rushing, a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown through the air, and then also throws an interception. I think that on the Washington side of the ball, I think that Carson Wentz throws for about 253 yards. I'm going to say 2 touchdowns as well with an interception. I think that Brian Robinson gets about 15 carries for 82 yards, does not score on the ground. I think that Terry McLaurin's going to get 4 targets, going to catch 3 of them for about 62 yards. And then Curtis Samuel is going to get some work out of the backfield on these jet sweeps and whatnot. Over on Chicago side, I think that your biggest receiver is probably going to be Equanimeous St. Brown. Darnell Mooney's kind of gotten the attention a lot these last couple of weeks on big plays. I think that this is a game where Equanimeous is actually going to play very well. I think that he actually catches a touchdown. I think Cole Kmet catches a touchdown in this game. Cole Kmet, I'm going to guess, is about 5 yards for about 63 yards, or 5 receptions for about 63 yards. And then David Montgomery. David Montgomery is going to have a big game here. I'm going to go with 108 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then that's pretty much going to do it for this this contest here. So I'm going to take the Bears winning this one 24-21. But as always, if you like today's content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, house, and time. But I'll catch you in the next one. I'll see you.